Friday the 15th of August. This is my third day of playing the guitar left-handed. Yesterday I posted a video of myself doing the 8 basic chords in 50 seconds, and today I intend to improve on that, courtesy of probably about an hour's practice in the meantime, 40 minutes or so yesterday and 15-20 minutes this morning to warm the fingers up before my performance. I'm going to start my timer on 30 and measure from there. E minor, D minor, A minor, E is an A major, to a D major, to a G major, on a C major, and the clock's just over a minute, so it's about 31 seconds, which is quite a chunk of improvement from 50 seconds. I always think a pretty good target before worrying about trying to do any sort of strumming with the right hand, apart from a very plain down, is to get that down to about 15 seconds. So it's on the horizon already. 50 down to 30. Hopefully by Monday I should be able to get this at about 15. Maybe that's a bit optimistic, I don't know. We'll see. Anyway, I'll add some more stuff to this video to explain the type of methods I'm using to squeeze more and more out of this in what I think is the quickest way you can do that. The method I've used to squeeze improvement out of these chords early on, which in my mind is the most efficient way you can do this, is drawn up on this bit of paper, which is standard issue to all my beginning students. You won't be able to make out the detail on this, the webcam's not very good. I'll put one in, you can see what I've got here is individual pairs of chords. That's the first one, it's E minor to D minor, and there's an arrow on there showing which finger's moving where, that type of thing. And I'm going to get used to this sequence, not by trying the whole sequence in its entirety, but in pairs of chords, the building blocks of the sequence. So I can get my fingers in front of the camera and we'll look at that first one and how I've burned that into my fingers and brain. Should do it right. There's an E minor. I'm fingering that with, you'll notice, with fingers 2 and 3, not as some books recommend fingers 1 and 2. To me it makes sense to use fingers 2 and 3. Because it then relates very well to an E major, which is the same but with the first finger added. It doesn't make sense to me to finger them completely differently, and there's no benefit doing it with 1 and 2. Anyway, here's my E minor, so I'm thinking 3 stages to get to a D minor. I'm going to ditch the 3rd finger, leaving just the 2nd on string 5 fret 2, and then the movement that this finger makes is 2 strings across to string 3, at which point I add in the 1st finger. Now this makes a pattern that we can also use in an A minor, so it's going to help us with the next building block in the sequence. After that, I've got one more finger to get on the D note here with finger 3, and I'm going to strum that 4 strings for a D minor, and then to go back to the E minor, it's really just a matter of shoving the 2 across back where it came from. I can add in my 3rd, there's an E minor, I need 6 strings, and constantly running this same set of movements, but all the time focusing on the movement that finger 2 makes from string 5 in this E minor to string 3 in the D minor. And after a number of repetitions that starts to make a bit more sense in the brain and the fingers start to get used to it. It's slow, but it's not horrendously slow, and it shouldn't take that long before the images of the chords are imprinted in the right side of the brain, which is where you can start to use them a bit more automatically than the very mechanical that you need to do to start off with. And if you address each of the pairs in turn, you've then got all the building blocks to play the full sequence, but what it means is that you've had quite intense focus on all the individual finger movements required at every step of the way along this chain of chords. So anyone who's learning along with me, if you practice them in that way, you can hopefully show the same sort of improvement that I'm getting quite early on here. So I wish you luck.